one particular effect we probably use in every edit, rotoscoping. And if you guys are not familiar with what rotoscoping is, it's essentially separating a foreground from a background, separating one element from the image. In this case, most of the time, my editors and I are separating myself from the foreground. All right, so right here, I have this moment where I say I'm on a time crunch. And like I was saying before, doing an edit that complements or visually makes what you're saying more interesting is what we're always looking for. So listen back here. So I'll play it from the screen record. Most of the time when I'm editing, I'm on a time crunch to get the video out. So most of the time I'm on a time crunch. So right here, I thought it would be cool to add a clock behind me with a ticking sound effect. So how do we do that? Well, there is a masking tool in Premiere Pro, and I will show you how to do that for more static shots. But if you have more movement, I recommend using Dynamic Link with After Effects. So to do that, let's go ahead and click on Option or Alt on a Mac. So you just press that key and drag up. Don't let go of that key. Let go of the mouse first and then let go of the key. And now we have a duplicate. So now on this duplicate copy, we can right click and we can replace with After Effects composition. And this is going to open up After Effects right now. And to rotoscope, you need to bring up the layers panel. To do that, just double click on the footage that you want to rotoscope. So double click, and now we're inside of the layers panel. The roto brush tool is this little guy here with a little paintbrush. So you just click on that, make sure it's highlighted blue, and then you're able to get this little green icon and you can just click and move around, and you can basically be super rough because it uses AI now to detect the edges. And you can change how it works here. So you can see this had a pink outline, which is kind of hard to see. And this is like the inverse. So basically, I just want to make sure that this is selected here too. And we can do our glasses here. This can be a little bit rough because the element we're adding behind me has some transparency, so it doesn't have to be a perfect rotoscope. So I'm just going to go in here and perfect that. If anything is selected that you don't want to be selected, you can always press Option and you'll get a red brush. And you can, click to add that back in, for example. So this is our roto brush here. Let's just make sure that looks good. And once everything is almost ready, what I like to do is just hit the space bar for play. And this will rotoscope it in real time. And you can see there's just one little error happening right about here on the right, which isn't a huge deal, but a little bit of the rotoscope starts to creep in. So what I do is I go right before this moment and I press Option and I just remove that. Oops, reverse. Sorry, I just paint over that part and then press play and it starts to work. Let's fix the one down here as well. All right, it looks pretty good. So then once it's good, I don't recommend just hitting save and going back to Premiere Pro. What I recommend doing is clicking on freeze. And I don't know if you guys can see that because I'm covering it in the window from what I can see, but you click on freeze here at the bottom. And this basically frees the rotoscope. So that way it doesn't reprocess it every single time, which is important. So now when you go back into the composition, you can see that we have the transparent background. You can always turn that off and it's just black, right? Don't worry about the glasses. It's not necessary in this case. So go ahead and hit save. And now when we go back to Premiere Pro, it doesn't look like anything because we actually have our background layer. We have a duplicate copy beneath, remember? So what we can do now is put a graphic beneath this. So I'm going to move up the roto and we're basically placing text or a graphic between the foreground and the background. So now I'm going to go over here and I found a couple different clock options from Storyblocks and this one I like the most. So I'm going to double click on this and open this up and just take an in and out of just the first part here and drag this into the timeline. So now you can see we have the clock behind me. First, we need to get rid of the green. If you don't have a I know that Storyblocks has a lot of assets that is alpha, or it has transparency layer already built in, but in this case, we gotta use the Ultra Key effect. And bam, drag and drop it. Doesn't do anything because we have to go to Effect Controls. And here you can select the key color and just select anywhere here and bam, it's gone. The green is gone. From here, you can go up to motion controls. You can use these scale parameters and position parameters here just by manipulating these numbers, or you can click on motion and then you can click directly on the monitor and rescale it up if you prefer that method. Now, if we go back to the clock here, you'll notice that the actual, what do you call it, the arms, the hands of the clock, they're black. So it's actually kind of hard to see. Can we make these white? That's the question. And the answer is yes, we can. We can go to effects and we can go to color replace and just drag and drop this on here. Then from effect controls again, what we're going to do is click on solid colors, make sure that's enabled, and then we need to choose our target color, which is black. So let's change this to black. And now you can see the arm is blue because the replace color is blue. In this case, I want it to be white. All right. And then you can increase the similarity to make it a little bit more smooth. So now we see on a time the hand more. And if you want to speed it up, here's a really cool tip. You can use the rate stretch tool. So you can just press R on your keyboard. And that should be a default preset, by the way. And then just speed it up, just drag it in to speed it up. If you make it longer, it's going to slow it down. So it's kind of like manipulating time with the rate stretch tool. So now we can preview how it looks on a time crunch. There we go, that works. So we can just cut here the excess off. So that's looking pretty good. What we can do now is add a little timer sound effect. So let's go ahead and drag and drop the sound effect I got here. And let's see how this sounds. And I'm on a time crunch to get. So just adding something like that really makes a difference, right? There's a few more things I would do in this case to spice it up. How about add a nice glow on our graphic? I always say the little things that you don't have to do make the biggest difference and will set you apart. So one thing that Premiere Pro doesn't have is a built-in glow effect that's easy to use, but there are 360 effects which can still be used on regular footage. So there's a VR glow. So even if you don't have 360 footage in your timeline, you can still drag and drop it and apply it to this graphic and bam, there it's glowing. So one thing we can do here is go in and adjust the glow radius. So if you don't want it to be as intense, let's change it to like 40 or something. And that looks pretty cool. One thing you can also do, an effect that I use all the time are like these little pop motion presets. So rather than keyframing pop motion, I use Film Impact Pop Motion and I just drag and drop it here. And it creates a little pop effect. I'm on a time, so a little pop. Use this all the time and I just copy and paste it on the end. And I would probably go in and I would lower the volume of the ticking a bit. And that's how we do. Most of the time when I'm editing, I'm on a time crunch to get the video out. A little fun rotoscope. Rotoscoping isn't as hard as it looks, I should say.